Go to the grocery store, buy some stuff, and throw it in a jar.
Stomped on them with their feet, you know,
What?
the toe jam in there. Let's make wine with stuff we bought at the grocery store. Okay, so we did grocery store mead.
Yep.
And we did grocery store cider. I was hesitant to do grocery store wine because we've done basic simple wines with juice before, but you know what? This is a little bit more than just a basic simple wine. So
I said, hey, let's use grapes.
So we're gonna use grapes. We have here, what is this, like 3 pounds or something?
We weighed it at the store.
We weighed it at the store. Now that's 3 pounds, including stems, seeds, and all. And we need to wash these. That's the first thing we gotta do.
Do we want to weigh them just to make sure?
We have a scale. Look at that. I didn't realize we had a scale handy. 2 pounds, 10 ounces. So we're both wrong. So 2 pounds, 10 ounces of grapes.
Do we have paper?
We don't even have paper
Wait,
yet.
I might have pre-papered. Let me check.
The grapes are going into a colander. I don't need that anymore. These need to be washed.
Stems and all.
Okay, the grapes are washed. But by washed, I mean I went to the sink, I ran water over them, and I kind of rubbed them around a little bit. There's stuff that could be on there, I understand. But we're not worried about like bacteria and things like that because we're going to kill them. Okay, we just wanted to get, you know, like if little Johnny sneezed on it or something kind of thing. Before we get too much further, I do need to actually start our yeast. First, that's right, we're using Fleischmann's Active Dry Yeast, a whole packet of bread yeast. Now, before anybody gets crazy, bread yeast has no more bread in it than wine yeast has wine in it. So it works. They're all Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is the type of yeast. Each yeast is bred for a slightly different thing. Is this the ideal way to use this yeast? Well, no. Does it make a good wine? Yeah.
Can you get it at the grocery store? Yeah. And that's why we're using it.
Last I checked, I couldn't get wine yeast at the grocery store. We're also going to be using Welch's grape juice because the grapes that we have here is not enough, but we want to add some of the fresh table grape flavor to the Concord grape. I'm just putting in a splash to get our yeast going. Give it a little mixy mix. See the big bunches? I don't want them to be that big. So yep, I'm putting in stems, seeds, skins, and everything into a pot. Gotta like cut at strategic points to get the exact spot you want to fall off. Strategic cuttery.
And yes, Brian's just being silly. This really isn't that important.
No,
You
it's
just
really not.
wanted to have it
I just wanted smaller chunks.
manageable.
If you can't be silly, call me. I'll be silly for you. Sometimes. Not every day. Twice on Wednesdays. And before anybody freaks out, yeah, we're really leaving the stems and everything in there. Because you know what? Tannins. That's why. Tannins. They add mouthfeel. It's 2 pounds, 10 ounces of grapes, minus the stems. So I'm going to say it's like 2¼ pounds of grapes. Chronometer is awesome for doing this. It's a free app. They're not a sponsor or anything. 36 ounces of table grapes have 155 grams of sugar. So it's like 1/3 of a pound. So that's about 15 points. You know what? I'm not even gonna worry about it. We're just gonna use our gravity readings because I'm gonna mash these grapes up a little bit during the process.
When you are using a fruit additive that you intend on removing at some point, this is all just going to be an estimation on what sugars they're going to add to the brew versus what percentage of alcohol they may absorb and be removed from the brew.
Yeah, a couple of people have asked that, and the answer is, I don't really know. Does the alcohol stay in the grapes? Does it come out of the grapes? Does it release the liquid? Does it not release it? I don't know. So I'm not even going to count them. But I am adding some of our grape juice to give a liquid to this for the pasteurization process to be able to be fulfilled.
Now you might be asking, well, you're already using grapes. Why are you using grape juice as well? And the answer to that is simple. If you watched our video making wine from table grapes, we had an issue where we initially wanted to use the skins and the stems and all the stuff, but then we ran out of room because we were trying to use just the grapes as our base for our fermentation. So this way we can have the full grapes, but still get all the grape flavor by adding grape juice and not worrying about over volumizing.
Another reason is complexity. The more different elements of the same kind of thing that you can put into something, the better it's going to be in general. Grocery store cider, we used 7 different apples and apple juice, and it came out unbelievably good. This needs to go on the stove right now, and I'm going to bring it up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The Celsius will be right here for 1 minute. That's it, 1 minute. Then I'm going to put it in the sink, cool it down, and just sit the whole thing in some water. We're going to add the rest of our juice. But first, I need to show you something. Our yeast is making a foam dome. So this is what living yeast looks like when you hydrate it like this. It should create a foam dome like that. It's just making foam. It's not that big of a deal, but it's a good thing. That way you know your yeast is alive. Now, I release the pressure on that, and then I shake them up because there's goop in the bottom. The goop is the good stuff. There's probably nutrients and stuff in there. This has dropped down in temperature to about 104 Fahrenheit. There'll be Celsius right here. And I have here two 64-ounce containers of the juice. I'm going to put the second one right into the fermenter. And here's why. If it's still too warm, I don't want to thermal shock the fermenter. So by putting this right into the fermenter first, and then dumping the rest into this, it solves the problem. Totally okay to aerate. It's the early part of fermentation. Get all of the juice. Sanitize tongs. Grab and drop. Now, the idea of what we just did, I said I was going to crush them up too. I actually didn't. I should have. I'm going to crush some of these grapes. Potato masher style. Potato masher into turbos. We pasteurized the juice and the grapes together. The juice really didn't need it, but the grapes, we wanted to make sure that, you know, little Johnny sneezes aren't in there. I'm joking about the little Johnny thing, but it's anything that could have been on them. And they don't crush as easily as you might think they do. We've killed everything that could be a problem. Now, let's get all the sugars and juices and good stuff out of them. This is the YouTube equivalent of a bunch of people in bare feet walking around on grapes. They're mashed up. They're in pieces now. Still a lot of grapes in here.
You got a sanitized hand.
No hands. Sanitized tongs. It's really hard to actually sanitize your hands.
Probably just as difficult to sanitize feet.
Ooh, probably worse. And yet, they stomped on grapes with their bare feet and made wine that other people drank. And they liked it.
At this point, we need to determine if we have enough fermentable sugars in here to get the ABV that we want.
Right. I'm estimating we're probably at like the 1.050 to 1.060, which is a little bit low. I don't think the grapes are going to add significantly. Like I said, maybe 0.015 points. Yeah, it's 1.062. So we're going to add some sugar. We're using a yeast that we know goes like 11 to 12%. So if I reverse engineer that, let's call it 11. 11 divided by 135. That means 1.081 is our maximum that we want. So if we are currently at 1.062, it's about 20% of a pound of sugar. I'm going to round that to 3 ounces, which is about 84 grams. Now I just want to mix it up. It's going to be made a little bit more difficult by all the grapes and stuff. Let's get another reading, but it's at 1.074. So what is 1.074 in potential alcohol? It's about 9%. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
For a homemade wine from grocery store ingredients, 9% is pretty acceptable. You might be tempted to add more sugar. You can, but be very careful. If you go past what the yeast can handle, you might be thinking, oh, well, that just means it'll end up sweet. Well, yeah, and it might end up really sweet because the yeast might be like, nope, we're not doing it. And they will stop and they will die early, which is called a stall. So that's why what we are actually intending is for this to go completely dry, and then we can sweeten to taste if necessary. Okay, this is our yeast. We're just going to dump that right in. Just use this and give it a little mixy mix. Then we're going to put the lid on it.
We're going to put our label on there, and then we're going to put this on a tray, just in case fermentation gets really excited. Now, we do have the added benefit of the dipped down reservoir here built into the lids for the little big mouth bubbler, so that if our fermentation does get really excited, by that I mean it creates an excess amount of foam that gets pushed out through our airlock, and it'll get caught in that tray.
And this is going to ferment until it's done. It could be a week, could be 2 weeks, could be 3 weeks. We're going to watch that airlock. When it starts to go flatline and just nothing's happening, we'll be back to show you what it looks like. So for you guys, it's like about 2 seconds from now. It's been 7 days. This sucker stopped after like 4 though. First thing you want to do when you take the lid off is give it a smell.
It smells like fermented grapes.
Smells like wine, yeah. And the visual inspection, it looks fine. I see a lot of grapes in there. Let me show you what it looks like. So yeah, when you look inside, I mean, you can see the grapes puffed up and everything like that. I have been swirling it so they are very moist. You want to keep doing that the whole time that there's fruit in there.
They're also changing color because they're releasing their coloring agents into the brew. Perhaps it's a good time to do our first specific gravity reading.
I'm going to say it finished. And ideally, that's what you want. We've had a lot of people recently freak out because they made something and in 4 days the bubbling stopped and they're like, oh, should I dump it out and start again?
No, you should take a
gravity reading because it's probably just done. 0.996. Is that fast for fermentation? Yes, it is. Totally okay.
Now recently, when we get our first check to be that low, we tend to just go ahead and rack because the likelihood of it fermenting out more is slightly slim, but not necessarily none. So regardless, we would take a secondary reading. But in this case, we have a little bit of a different scenario with a recipe.
We have fruit. It's only been sitting on it for a week. I want at least 2 weeks on the fruit. So because there's no need to rack it right away, we're not going to. We're going to let this go another week, maybe even 2 weeks. Okay, it's been another week. We were at 0.996 4 seconds ago when you last watched. But I want to do an olfactory and optical. I'm smelling fruit now. There was a slight sulfur smell last week.
It's
and
like
it's gone.
fruit.
Yep, it smells really nice. That's a beautiful color.
Yeah.
When the thing doesn't even pop out of the cylinder, yet it is floating. Hear that? Believe it or not, it went down. 0.994. Could we say, nope, gotta let it sit another week to make sure?
We could.
We could.
But we're not gonna.
And at this point, we're going to be putting it into conditioning phase under airlock anyway, so even the last point or two, if it does it, I'm not really overly concerned. One thing I want to do, though, is also calculate our ABV. So we start at 1.074. That is our original gravity when we started this whole thing, minus 0.994, which is what we're at now. 80 points of gravity spent, if you will, times 135 gives us 10.8% ABV. We're going to get the racking gear together, going to get a fermenter. Be back in a sec. All right, so we have our wide mouth 1 gallon fermenter. I'm going to pour our sample in here. The reason I don't pour it back in there is because there's lees in there and I don't want to disturb everything. And as always, we will be siphoning using an auto siphon. The end in the destination, this end in the source. And I'm leaving the cap on. That is not like just a protective cover that you throw away. Trust me, I learned that like a decade ago. It literally is a protective cover to keep some of the lees out so that you can go to the bottom. But to start, I go about halfway and then I get it going. And now I will just kind of watch it and keep it out of that lees until the very end. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about waste in the bottom here. This is all of the fruits and the stems and the lees. All in all, there's probably a cup of liquid in the bottom of this that we couldn't get out, okay? If we really wanted to, you could let this settle. You could try to get some more of that out and let it sit. If you must get that last cup or half cup of liquid out, then that's what you should do. For us, we're going to throw this in the compost and not worry about it. What's the next step for this?
It's gonna sit.
Yeah, we're just going to put it back on the shelf, give it some more time to clear, and we'll be back in a couple of seconds to show you what it looks like. So it's been another week.
It's a beautiful color.
Smells like a combination of Concord and wine. It actually smells nice.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like
It's mellowing.
Manischewitz with a normal wine.
A normal wine. Oh, look at that color.
That's a pretty color.
Wow. It really did retain a lot of color and clarity. It's super clear. Can we just set that on top?
Absolutely.
The smell, it's got so much fruitiness and richness to it. It's actually really impressive. What we're doing now is we're doing our adjustment taste. Okay, this is where we're going to sample it, live with it for a little bit, and decide if there's anything we need to do to it.
And before we even get into tasting it, we talked about it and we thought, okay, this could be a sweet red or this could be a dry red. And recently, both of us have really been appreciating dry reds.
Right.
So it's quite possibly done. In the mouth, I feel like it's lacking something, but on the swallow, I feel like it's pretty darn close to being where I want it to be.
We did not add tannins to this. Normally we'll add tannins in the way of tea or wine tannin.
But we did leave the...
We did leave all the skins and stems.
And I
that
can
was
feel
such
that.
a good thing.
I can feel that.
There's a nice mouth pucker to this. I don't think I want to do anything to it.
All right.
I think it's good.
You know what that means?
It means we need to do our final tasting.
We gotta change glasses. Pretty. So we got the Glencairns out. And why did we do that? Well, if you saw our video where we tested each of our glassware, and actually...
And if you didn't see it, you should watch it.
That wasn't all of our glassware. We have a ridiculous amount of glassware.
She has a ridiculous amount of glassware.
Fair enough. The Glencairn won because of its shape, tulip shape.
The color on this, the clarity, I'm giving this a 10 for color and clarity.
It's beautiful. It's like a red purple. Like I'm seeing a slight bluish to the red.
But it's got a clarity to it that's really good. You can see light through it. I can see my finger through it.
It's nice.
On the smell, it is as if you took like a Cabernet or something and mixed it with a Concord grape.
Yep.
It really is.
It is.
Which is interesting. Some people might call it sacrilegious. I don't know, but I actually rather like it. I like Concord grape and Concord grape wine. Some people don't.
And I think if you allow yourself to experience the full spectrum and not get stuck with, oh, I'm a Cabernet person or whatever, then maybe you'll find some appreciation in something that you weren't expecting.
On the smell, I actually get a little bit of like a cinnamon and maybe like a dark chocolate, like a cocoa note, a little bit, along with deep fruits, grape. The berry note is really prominent. I know we're like intellectualizing a grocery store wine.
Yeah, I am getting a little bit, I had to search for it, but I am getting a little bit of the chocolate coffee combo. It's neither chocolate nor coffee.
It's deep down in there, but it's there.
Something like that.
It's got a really nice viscosity, good mouth pucker.
The tannins simply from the grapes themselves, their skins and their stems work perfectly in this.
Beautiful job.
I'm really impressed with that. And it shouldn't be a shock to me because that's how
wine was
producible.
Yeah, they just took the bunches of grapes.
That's what they do.
Cleaned them.
That's
stomped on them with their feet, you know.
That's what they do.
A little toe jam in there. I think as a table wine, this is spectacular.
Right.
For a table wine. Just something to serve with a meal, you know, family and friends getting together kind of thing.
Which is really impressive. Nice. You know, just go to the grocery store, buy some stuff, and throw it in a jar.
Considering we started this on, this is 3 weeks old. We're at the point in the show.
Repeatability is the easy one.
Go on repeatability. Give it a scale of 1 through 10. How easy would this be for you to reproduce at home? An 11.
Yeah.
Our next score is our personal bias. 1 through 10, the occasional 11 being reserved for those things that are just out of this world amazing. I'm trying to remember it. The finish is actually quite long.
Yeah.
Still getting a lot of fruitiness.
Nice long finish.
It's very fruity. It has a lot of fruit flavors in there. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, 9.5.
Yeah,
wow.
You can see the difference here. I'm a layers girl, and even though this isn't a one note, don't get me wrong, this isn't a one note. That's why it got up to a 7. It's not as complex as I would like it to be. I guess I just like complexity. A 7 is still a mighty fine score. I will be like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to drink that with tonight's dinner.
You can look at it that I start at 5 and go up based on things that are good, or I start at 10 and then go down. The only thing, and I kind of start at 10 and go down on this one. The only thing I dinged it for is that it's a little on the young side. Just a little bit. But you're talking about complexity. It's got the coffee flavors. It's got a little bit of the cinnamon spice. It's got a good mouthfeel. It's got richness. It's got all the fruity notes. I'm wondering what layers it's not getting for you, but you're allowed to have your own opinion. I'm just saying, to me, it's full of layers. It's very complex for what it is. Maybe I'm taking that into account. That for what it is, it's very complex.
It could be because I've been having sinus issues. That certainly could be a factor.
That is a possibility.
Absolutely. However, I am really looking forward to trying this again in a year.
Oh yeah, in a year this will be.
And sharing that experience with you.
As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.